Nearly 400 years, Greece had existed without self-determination. Ottoman rule was not overt subjugation. Life continued. Taxes collected. Order maintained. Faith regulated. The autonomy Greeks craved had long since disappeared. Resistance was local, isolated, and suppressed. Empires survive when opposition is fragmented. By the start of the 19th century, the stakes had changed. Greek merchants, scholars, and clerics were no longer confined to one region or province, able to travel and spread Enlightenment ideas that were flourishing in Europe, ideas that spread faster than censorship could act. In 1814, in the city of Odessa, 3 men founded a secret organization, the Filiki Eteria, the Friendly Society. Its purpose was simple: revolt. They knew an isolated revolt would surely falter. To succeed, it would have to be coordinated across regions, across islands, and critically, across classes. For years it operated in the shadows, recruiting influential Greeks in silence, swearing oaths to the society with initiation rituals. Cells were formed. Solidarity replaced isolation. A secret society can exist for years without consequence. A revolt cannot. In February 1821, Alexandros Ypsilantis crossed the Pruth River into Moldavia. He carried a proclamation, the fight for faith and fatherland, themes including liberation from Ottoman rule, defense of Orthodox Christianity, and restoration of Greek dignity. A well-known part of the proclamation reads roughly: "The hour has come, O Hellenes. Brave men of Greece, remember that the empire of the Ottomans is weakened. The nations of Europe admire our cause. Let us fight for faith and fatherland." The Ottoman state no longer faced whispers in darkened rooms. There would be no quiet retreat from this. The conspiracy was about to face the full force of an empire. Welcome to the rebellion rolls. Alexander and the front faltered. A signal had been sent though. In the Peloponnese, revolt ignited. Nobles gathered, armed bands forming. Ottoman garrisons quickly came under siege. What had once been scattered grievance was now synchronized movement. People were not suddenly courageous. That had always been present. It was coordination. When people realize they are no longer alone, it inspires liberation from the risk of standing and finding yourself solitary. Kind words and morals are the first casualties when revolutions occur. Tripolitsa, modern-day Tripoli, a major Ottoman administrative centre, had been under siege for several months. Finally it fell in late 1821. What followed was not simply victory. For days the city, swelled by numbers fleeing the rebellion, descended into violence, and thousands of Muslim and Jewish inhabitants were massacred. The Ottoman response was equally ruthless. In 1822, the Massacre of Chios shocked Europe. A small isle in the Aegean, with a population of 100 to 120,000, it was one of the wealthiest regions in the Ottoman Empire, producing valuable resins. A centre for Greek trade, it initially declined to join the revolt. Revolutionaries from nearby islands convincing local leaders to stand in an ill-thought, hasty resistance, landing tens of thousands of troops on the island. Ottoman leadership sought to send a message. Tens of thousands were massacred, and tens of thousands more enslaved or deported. 20 to 30,000 were estimated to be left after it all ended. War hardened both sides. Each reprisal narrowed alternatives. Each act reduced the possibility of restoration. What had begun as uprising was becoming revolution. Independence was not yet inevitable. Greek factions turned against one another, weakening momentum. Meanwhile, the Ottoman state sought reinforcement. Ibrahim Pasha, son of Muhammad Ali of Egypt, the governor of Egypt, landed in the Peloponnese. By the mid-1820s, the revolt appeared out of steam, nearing collapse. Coordination had begun the war. It was not yet strong enough to win the day. The brutality of the conflict stirred opinion beyond the Ottoman Empire. Philhellenism spread throughout Europe. Britain, France, and Russia watched events carefully. Initially, intervention was cautious. Diplomacy first, pressure second. By 1827, the calculus shifted. The great powers signed the Treaty of London. When Ottoman Egyptian naval forces refused armistice, Allied fleets engaged them at Navarino. The Ottoman fleet was destroyed. This did not begin the Greek revolt. It ensured it would not be extinguished yet. War continued. Negotiations followed. In 1830, international recognition of Greek independence was formalized. Borders would evolve. Monarchy would follow. Critically, the essential shift had already occurred years earlier. The empire had been undone not by outrage, by organization. The Greek War of Independence was not an eruption. It was an exposure. For centuries, resistance had been local. In 1814, it became coordinated. The three men that founded it, Nikolaos Skoufas, Emmanuel Xanthos, and Athanasos Tiskolov, could not have thought that their initial efforts would have led to such widespread support. In 1821 it became visible, and once visible, it could no longer retreat into secrecy. Empires endure fragmentation. They fracture under coordination.
I have tried not to front-load this film with information that can overload. In order to do it justice, I feel some of these measures must be considered. There was a swathe of taxes that were implemented against ordinary Greeks, and some of these may, and could have led to the resentment that built up over time. The first one was the poll tax, or jizya. This was a tax on non-Muslims that was paid for by Christians and Jews, and was theoretically in exchange for protection and exemption from military service. How true that is up for consideration. Another major source of resentment was iltazam, or tax farming. And what this represented is that the government auctioned the right to collect taxes to private individuals, who would then collect taxes from the population, the difference being kept by the person who won the auction. This promoted a lot of things: overcollection, abuse by local officials, economic instability. Because they wanted profit, the tax farmers, quote unquote, sometimes collected far more than the official tax rate, and there was little recourse that the local population had to this. I'm also going to mention Divshurmi, which by this period had, to a degree, died out. I do feel this is a relevant cultural issue. So Divshurmi was where Ottoman officials would periodically collect boys from Christian communities in the Balkans and Anatolia. These boys were selected usually between the ages of 8 to 18, taken to Ottoman institutions, converted to Islam, and then trained for state service. There was many roles they could become, however the most common ones were Janissary soldiers, the elite guards and elite soldiers of the Ottoman Empire, administrators, and palace officials. Now I'm going to throw this one over to you. How do you see that you would react if those particular constraints were being posted on you? I've also tried a new tact this week, trying to embody storytelling more. I'm quite a stoic straight talker, meaning that I'm very quick to, here is the issue, let's problem solve, there's your solution. I understand not everyone's looking for that. So if you do have any comments, I would appreciate hearing your feedback.
Hope you've had a fantastic week. and I hope this next one improves even more. We're growing. Best of luck.